Welcome back to our channel where we uncover the rarest and most valuable coins hiding in plain sight. Today we've got something truly extraordinary for all the coin collectors and treasure hunters out there, because we're diving into the fascinating and highly lucrative world of the 1995 Roosevelt dime. A seemingly ordinary 10-cent coin that in some rare cases has been valued as high as $50,000 due to a combination of extraordinary minting errors, mechanical anomalies, die-related mistakes, and extremely low survival rates and perfect error conditions. Now imagine holding what appears to be a basic dime in your palm, one you might receive in your daily change or overlook at the bottom of a drawer, only to find out it's worth tens of thousands of dollars. And yes, this is very real. So stick with us as we break down exactly what makes this particular coin so valuable. Because this isn't your typical rare coin story that's all about mintage numbers alone, though low mintage can be part of the story, but rather about the unusual circumstances and error types that make certain 1995 Roosevelt dimes so phenomenally rare and valuable, beginning with the Denver Mint's role in mass-producing the coin as part of the regular Roosevelt dime series, where the D mint mark on the obverse side, just above the date near Roosevelt's neck, indicates it was struck in Denver. But what's astonishing about this specific year and mint location is the number of error coins that escaped the usual scrutiny, slipping past mint quality control and ending up in circulation or collector lots, with anomalies that range from double dies, off-center strikes, broad strikes, missing clad layers, and die caps to far more exotic errors like mule coins. Though extremely rare and possibly even unique in this series, the most commonly cited valuable error among these is the double die obverse or DDO, which refers to a situation where the die that struck the coin had a misalignment, or doubling of the design due to a slip or a shift during the hubbing process, resulting in visible doubling on the letters of Liberty in God We Trust, or the date itself. Though many of these are subtle, a strong doubling is what draws premium value and makes collectors open their wallets wide, especially if the doubling is dramatic and seen with the naked eye. And because Roosevelt dimes have such small lettering, strong doubling is more difficult to find, and when it does exist, it becomes all the more valuable because of how rare that level of visible error is. Now combine that with full torch details on the reverse side, where all the lines and bands in the torch are fully struck, creating what's known in grading terms as full bands, and you've got a dime that collectors absolutely go wild over, especially in higher grades like MS-67 or MS-68, which are already hard to come by without any errors. But throw in a mint error and you enter the realm of ultra-rarity, which is where prices start soaring from a few hundred or a few $1,000s into the tens of thousands. And this is where our story really gets interesting, because not only are there documented cases of 1995 Roosevelt dimes with strong doubling, there are also specimens that show missing clad layers, which means the nickel outer layer of the coin was either partially or entirely absent during minting, exposing the copper core underneath and creating a two-tone appearance that is both visually striking and numismatically significant, especially when these missing clad layer errors occur on one side only, because it adds another level of minting anomaly that appeals to error collectors and specialists, and the visual impact of a half-silver, half-copper coin makes these stand out instantly, further increasing their desirability and value. And then there are broad-struck examples, where the coin is struck outside of the retaining collar, causing the dime to spread out wider and flatter than usual, giving it an odd shape that's immediately distinguishable from a normal coin. And although this may not be as rare as a doubled die, when combined with high grade and possibly another error, the price can spike dramatically, not to mention off-center strikes which occur when the blank planchet is not properly aligned under the die, resulting in a partial image of the coin's design being stamped. And these are extremely collectible when the date is still fully visible because it helps authenticate and identify the coin. And of course there's the occasional wrong planchet error, where a dime design is struck on a planchet meant for another denomination like a penny or even a foreign coin, which adds a layer of mystery and uniqueness to the piece. And yes, although it's exceedingly rare, such errors have been known to escape the mint, sometimes due to planchet mixing or die installation errors. And each such occurrence is often one of a kind, placing them in the five-figure Price range due to both their rarity and the novelty factor they offer collectors, and it's worth noting that some of these valuable 1995 D Roosevelt dimes may have multiple overlapping errors, such as a double die with a broad strike or a missing clad layer combined with off-center strike, which amplifies the rarity exponentially, and when these coins are also found in uncirculated mint state condition. Especially if slabbed and graded by a top-tier grading company like PCGS or NGC with a high grade like MS67 or MS68, it adds a degree of certainty and confidence for buyers that helps justify the enormous price tags, and in auctions or private sales where passionate collectors or error specialists compete for such rare examples, the prices can shoot up dramatically, often exceeding the conservative market estimate for that coin and making headlines in the numismatic world. And what's most astonishing is that many of these coins are still out there in the wild, possibly sitting unnoticed in pocket change, in old coin jars, inherited collections, or forgotten rolls of dimes waiting to be searched, and that's what makes this so exciting for everyday people, because unlike certain rare coins that were only ever released in proof sets or had microscopic mintage numbers, the 1995 D Roosevelt dime was struck in massive quantities, meaning the valuable errors are hidden within a sea of common coins, making the hunt both challenging and thrilling, and it only takes one overlooked dime to change your life if it happens to have the right combination of errors and condition. So whether you're a seasoned collector with years of experience, or a curious beginner just starting to explore the fascinating world of coins, this particular dime represents the perfect storm of collectability, rarity, and surprise potential. And even if you don't find one worth $50,000, the thrill of the search and the knowledge you gain along the way is often just as rewarding, though of course, discovering one would certainly be the highlight of any collection, and because the Roosevelt dime is still in circulation and used widely today, your odds of encountering one, however slim, are still better than winning most lotteries, especially if you take the time to educate yourself on what the errors look like, how to distinguish doubling from die deterioration, and how to spot genuine anomalies versus post-mint damage, and many collectors make a habit of searching through bank rolls or coin exchange services just to see if a hidden gem is waiting to be uncovered, and when they do, especially in the case of these rare 1995 D dimes, it proves that numismatic treasures are still out there for those who are willing to look closely, learn the markers of value, and understand the conditions that make a coin like this so spectacularly prized. And in closing, it's the perfect reminder that even a simple dime can hold incredible value when struck with a little bit of mint-made magic. And speaking of valuable dimes that could be hiding right under your nose, let's now shift our attention to another jaw-dropping find that has stunned collectors and casual searchers alike: the 2000p Roosevelt dime, a coin that on the surface appears just as ordinary as any other 10-cent piece you might receive in your pocket change. Yet certain rare air varieties from this year have commanded prices of up to $20,000 in auctions and private sales, and for very good reason, because much like the notorious 1995 D era dime, the 2000p offers an enticing combination of minting mistakes, visual anomalies, and collector demand that elevates it far beyond its face value. And what makes this coin especially exciting is that it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, indicated by the P mint mark just above the date on the obverse side, and as many seasoned collectors know, the Philadelphia Mint has historically produced billions of coins annually, which means while most 2000p dimes are perfectly standard, the sheer scale of production also increases the odds of mistakes occurring and slipping through unnoticed, and in this case, those mistakes can be worth thousands to tens of thousands depending on their severity and uniqueness. And the most coveted error known in the 2000p Roosevelt dime series is the dramatic off-metal strike, particularly those that were accidentally struck on foreign planchets or blanks meant for coins of other denominations or countries, for instance. Several authenticated examples exist of 2000p Roosevelt dimes struck on planchets intended for foreign coinage, often made of brass or other unusual alloys, resulting in a gold-colored dime that is clearly distinct from the usual silver-colored composition of copper-nickel clad dimes. And because these planchets were never meant to be used for Roosevelt dimes, The resulting error coins are instantly recognizable by both color and weight, often weighing significantly less or more than the expected 2.268 grams of a standard dime, and this discrepancy, combined with the distinctive coloring and sharpness of design, makes these coins both highly desirable and extremely rare, and when found in uncirculated condition and authenticated by third-party grading services such as PCGS or NGC. These off-metal errors can fetch between $10,000 to $20,000 depending on the visibility of the error, condition of the coin, and demand at the time of sale, and another highly valuable error from the 2000p series involves missing clad layer errors, where one or both sides of the dime are struck without the normal nickel layer, revealing the underlying copper core that gives the coin a reddish or orange hue, and while such errors can occasionally be seen in other years, those found on 2000p dimes with perfect details, clear diagnostics, and little post-mint damage are extremely valuable. Particularly if the error occurred on the obverse side, which features President Roosevelt's portrait. Because collectors tend to place greater visual and aesthetic value on errors that affect the front-facing image of a coin, and it doesn't stop there. 2000p dimes are also known to exist with broad strike errors, where the coin is struck outside of its retaining collar, leading to a wider, thinner appearance with stretched-out design elements, and while a broad strike by itself might not reach 5 figures, when paired with another error like a double strike, off-center strike, or missing clad layer, the coin becomes an ultra-rarity, capable of selling for tens of thousands of dollars depending on its grade and how dramatic the error appears, and that brings us to one of the most mysterious and exciting possibilities among 2000p dimes, the rare mule error, which involves two dies that were never intended to be paired together, although no confirmed Roosevelt dime mules have surfaced publicly from 2000. Collectors speculate that with the large volumes of coins struck that year and the known instances of mules in other denominations during that time frame, such as the famous Sacagawea dollar and state quarter mule, it remains entirely possible that an undocumented mule involving a Roosevelt dime could be out there, waiting to be discovered, and if it is, it could easily command prices far exceeding $20,000 due to its extreme rarity and collector interest, and even without such a mule, the 2000p dime has plenty to offer, especially when it comes to strong double dies, although most doubling on dimes is relatively minor or confined to die deterioration doubling. There have been reports of coins from this year exhibiting legitimate double die obverse errors, where design elements such as Liberty in God We Trust, or even Roosevelt's eye and profile show signs of strong doubling caused during the hubbing process, and when such coins are certified by a respected grading service and the doubling is dramatic enough to be seen with the naked eye, their value skyrockets, often reaching into the thousands even in circulated grades, and far more in mint state, especially with additional characteristics like full bands, where the reverse torch design shows all horizontal lines and full separation between the bands, indicating a sharp and well-executed strike, which is relatively uncommon on modern dimes and therefore highly prized among collectors who value both rarity and strike quality. And don't forget that coin grading plays an enormous role in determining final value, so a rare error dime from 2000p graded MS66 or MS67 with a strong strike, full bands, and an unusual error can fetch significantly more than a similar coin with minor wear or less dramatic characteristics, which is why it's so important to consider professional grading and authentication when you believe you've found something special. And because Roosevelt dimes are still widely used in circulation today, the odds of finding one of these rare 2000p errors in the wild aren't as remote as you might think, especially if you're someone who regularly checks their change, searches through coin rolls, or has access to coin counting machines where you can observe and inspect large numbers of coins quickly. And while millions of people use and discard dimes without a second thought, the few who pay close attention to details, color anomalies, weight differences, odd shapes, doubled lettering, or inconsistent rim features, may stumble upon a fortune hiding in plain sight, and that's what makes the hobby so captivating, because the potential reward for a keen eye and a little knowledge is substantial, and unlike many collectibles that require enormous investments to start, coin collecting, especially error hunting, can begin with just the coins you already have in your pocket, and that's why the story of the 2000p Roosevelt dime is not only about rarity and value, but also about opportunity, persistence, and the thrill of discovery. And just like the 1995 D dime we discussed earlier, this modern Roosevelt dime from the year 2000 reminds us all that even the most common-looking coins can contain spectacular secrets. And sometimes, it only takes one sharp glance to uncover a five-figure payday. And now, continuing our journey through the most surprisingly valuable modern dimes you might still find in everyday circulation, we arrive at a coin that has caught the attention of serious collectors and era specialists alike: the 2015p Roosevelt dime, a 10-cent coin minted in Philadelphia that, under the right circumstances, can command an impressive $10,000 on the open market. And while the face value is laughably small in comparison to its highest auction results, what makes this coin so special isn't immediately obvious to the untrained eye, and that's exactly why it's essential for anyone who handles coins, whether casually or professionally, to understand the specific characteristics that make this 2015p Roosevelt dime such a prize, because while the Philadelphia Mint produced hundreds of millions of these dimes for general circulation, only a tiny fraction were struck with dramatic errors that transform an otherwise ordinary coin into a rare and valuable collector's item. And one of the most sought-after error types from this year is the off-center strike, particularly those that are severely off-center yet still show a full or nearly full date and mint mark. Because in error coin collecting, the visibility of the date and mint mark significantly affects the desirability of a piece, and collectors will pay a premium for errors where those identifiers remain intact. And in 2015, several off-center Roosevelt dimes were struck at such extreme angles that entire portions of the coin's design were missing, creating dramatic crescent shapes or blank planchet zones that collectors find both fascinating and beautiful. And when these off-center strikes are accompanied by a clean surface, no signs of damage, and a high mint state grade such as MS66 or better, they can fetch several $1,000s easily, with the most dramatic and aesthetically balanced examples reaching the $10,000 mark. And another valuable error that's been confirmed for the 2015p Roosevelt dime is the rare die adjustment strike or weak strike, where the coin appears to be poorly struck or missing large sections of its design due to insufficient pressure being applied during the striking process. And while weak strikes do occur occasionally across multiple denominations, what makes the 2015p examples valuable is how extreme and unusual they are, with some specimens missing nearly all details from one side while still showing partial elements on the other, creating a ghostly, minimalist appearance that's both strange and captivating. And these are especially valuable when certified as genuine mint errors by third-party grading companies like PCGS or NGC, because many weak strikes can be mistaken for post-mint damage or excessive wear, and professional authentication helps verify the nature of the strike and protect buyers and sellers from misidentifying a coin. And in addition to these rare types, the 2015p Roosevelt dime has also shown up in the numismatic world with full reverse brockage errors, where the reverse design of one coin is struck directly into the obverse of another due to a previously struck coin being stuck in the die chamber, and the result is a mirror image of the reverse appearing in use on the obverse side, essentially turning one coin into a die for another. And this error type is extremely rare and fascinating to collectors due to both the complexity of how it occurs and the eye-catching final appearance. And when found on a modern dime like the 2015p, especially in high grade and without damage, such brockages are exceedingly valuable, often pushing beyond the $10,000 threshold due to their rarity and appeal. And even more intriguing are the known examples of 2015p Roosevelt dimes struck on the wrong planchet, a type of error known as an off-metal or wrong planchet strike, where a Roosevelt dime is accidentally struck on a blank intended for another denomination, such as a cent, or even a coin from another country, and these errors result in a coin that looks completely abnormal in both color and weight, sometimes appearing reddish if struck on a copper penny blank, or yellowish if struck on a brass foreign planchet, and these examples tend to weigh significantly less or more than the standard 2.268 grams of a Roosevelt dime, and because they are so visually striking and rare, collectors are willing to pay top dollar for them, especially when accompanied by authentication and mint state condition. And it's important to note that for a coin from such a recent year as 2015 to already command values up to $10,000, the error must be not only dramatic and eye-catching but also extremely well preserved, which is why condition is everything when it comes to pricing these coins. And those found in original mint-sealed bags or rolls are more likely to retain the mint state grades that serious collectors seek, and as with other Roosevelt dimes, the full band's designation on the reverse. Torch design also adds additional premium value when combined with an error, because it indicates a sharp and complete strike that's uncommon on many dimes, and this small detail can help push a valuable error coin into the next tier of pricing. And the mystique surrounding the 2015 P. Roosevelt dime lies not only in the known documented errors but also in the possibility that even more undiscovered varieties may exist, since coins from recent years are still being circulated, searched, and analyzed by collectors and error specialists, and as new errors are discovered and certified, they can quickly climb in value if deemed rare enough, which is why now is a perfect time to be hunting for these modern treasures, especially if you're someone who regularly inspects your pocket change, purchases bank rolls for searching, or has inherited coin jars from family members. Because every coin you overlook might be a missed opportunity, and with how common Roosevelt dimes are in everyday life, it's easy to dismiss them as insignificant. But as this 2015 P example proves, even the newest coins can contain mint-made mistakes worth thousands. And while not every error will reach the rarefied air of the $10,000 club, the thrill of discovery, the opportunity to learn the signs of real mint errors, and the chance of uncovering a once-in-a-lifetime find is what makes the search worthwhile. So whether you're already knee-deep in the hobby or just beginning your journey as a collector, keep a sharp eye on your 2015 P. Roosevelt dimes, because that small piece of change could end up being one of the most valuable coins you ever find.